last December, a few of us were talking about how when you retired, Patrick, we weren't quite yet as well connected in social media as we are now, and there was quite a bit of interest in putting together a book for you the same way we had done for Pete, to give you a good conclusion to how, not a conclusion, but a good summary of how we felt about our years being taught by you as an acting professor here at Illinois State. And someone else came up with the idea to turn all of the letters that we had submitted during this to a play. And so we wrote it into a play, and we're here to present that for you today. No. No,
We've got Kleenex.
We are likely to join you.
But notice there's no chairs for you to throw.
And we lock the door, so if you're bored,
You can't leave. Lock the wheels on, that would be good.
you're stuck.
Yeah.
Even if it's
This is the one time you will get.
This doesn't sound very promising.
We may get the fucking point. We may get that at one point.
I am waiting for that.
I am waiting.
So we're going to start by, we're going to go down the row and just introduce ourselves and remind you of what years we were here and what we all worked on together.
Nick Lamb, graduated 04, had the honor of being in with you, Macbeth,
Oh, yes.
as reporter, and acting with you in A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
I played the
Third time around.
Third time around. I remember that now.
I'm Mark Larson. I graduated in 1999. You were my teacher for improvisation, and you directed me into Fledermaus. And we worked together in 1998 Illinois Shakespeare Festival. We did Much Ado About Nothing and The Falcon's Pitch, the the adaptation of all three Henry VI. That was an experience.
I remember that. I remember thinking to the director, if you don't get it together, sit down, I'll do it.
That sounds right. I think we all said that to him.
I'm Sarah Walsh, and I was in your scripted materials, improv, and Greeks class.
Greek class, yeah.
Yes.
That was an especially good one for you.
Thank you. Yes, it was. Yeah. And also, you directed me in Mad Woman Shio.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And we spent a summer together, having a lot of fun and conversation.
That sounds interesting.
Don't go any further.
I shan't.
Thank you, dear.
Christian Castro, awesome, so wonderful to see you. Thank you for being here. I graduated class of 03. You directed me in Macbeth, and my first class with you was acting 2, and we did realism together in Shakespeare. And I definitely had a chair throwing moment with you, only you threw the chair and you hit me upside the head to feel something in an orphan scene, which...
Did I hit you with the chair?
You didn't hit me with the chair, you threw the chair, and then you hit me upside the head, didn't you? So, yeah. Cool, thank you.
Did I hit you in the head, actually?
You did, you kind of did one. It did, you did, you know what I mean? You kind of did.
I can be arrested for that.
He's tough. He can.
Before these guys, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
I'm Lisa Marie Schultz,
Oh, yeah.
class of '85. We did Hamlet together in 1986, and then when I saw you 21 days ago, you said you must start acting. It doesn't matter at what level, so here I am.
That's exactly right. You just keep acting, and you find that you get more and more other kinds of roles. Just don't say no to anything. That's it.
Yes, and.
Julie Riffle, I'm representing the class of 2017. I wandered down early to get a few classes out of the way, like basic acting and improv with you, and had a wonderful time with Bonnie Gilead.
Good.
Came across my script the other day, and I'm beating myself up because I forgot to bring it with today.
Good to see you again, dude. Hi, John.
So, This
So
is
I'm
for you.
Patrick O'Gara.
Okay. What classes did you have with yourself?
I have one every night. I lecture myself in the mirror. I've never thrown a chair at the mirror.
There's still time.
That's okay. Actually, I've been here for a week now, and I may be here another week or two. I'm in therapy. You know all the story about it, right?
Yes.
But I'll be fine. But,
Are they treating you well?
yes, they are.
Good.
I wish I could see a doctor to find out what I can do about my, well, that's a small little thing. I don't know now what kind of insulin to take relative to sugars. I know nothing, and they won't tell me anything. They're just playing around with me.
They're just trying to
Fooling around with my feelings.
Unacceptable.
I think they're just experimenting right now.
Aren't we all?
That's called life. But thank you so much for being here.
Thank
Of
you.
course.
Thank you.
So we want to present this to you, the collections, and it is so dearly titled, "The Passion of the Patrick." Patrick.
Dear Patrick,
Lovely Patrick.
I never thanked you.
I was fortunate.
Thank you for the gift of you.
You saw me.
you saw through people.
You saw through bullshit.
I was so frightened of you.
Thank you for making me believe in myself.
You, my friend, are a true force of kindness, talent, passion, and inspiration.
So very many of my fellow 1990s era students had their own Patrick impersonation, and all of them employed judicious word, passion!
The lessons I took from you have wound up translating more into my real life roles.
You were very effective as a teacher of acting, but even more as a kind of mentor for life.
You always knew when to push our buttons to get what you wanted out of us. You also knew when to let us stumble and discover our own way.
I hear that voice in my head every time I begin to doubt myself, when I question whether I have the time or energy to do it, to start over again from square one.
I learned that a difficult and harsh teacher meant the best, most encouraging, and most fulfilling teacher.
Passion, focus, belief. Whenever I was in your presence, I felt like I was in the presence of greatness. I didn't always fully understand at the time what it was you were trying to teach me, but I don't know if I ever fully expressed my gratitude for you. You saw things clearly when I couldn't. You guided me to places where I had never realized I could go. You helped me tap into my passion. You taught me to focus and guided me into a deeper level of emotion and helped me to believe in the situation, in the moment, and in myself. You helped me to understand the world and myself even more. You taught me how to connect when I felt disconnected. Improvising in class gave me an understanding of the life outside of the words on the page. Our scene study from the Bacchae was primal, and you helped me to understand the importance of rituals in our lives. I felt empowered, and I wanted more opportunities to work with you. Thank you for investing your time, for sharing your passion and your knowledge, your power, your deep respect for acting, and for igniting a fire within me and within all of us.
My first class with you did not go so well. You referred to me once as bloodless. This is hilarious in retrospect for many reasons. Over the next few years, we grew to be quite close.
One of the most memorable things you ever said to me was, "You know, Kurt, when I first met you, I didn't think you were all that bright." But before I had a chance to feel too devastated, you followed that up with, "But now I see you have a fine mind."
That was the first time I ever thought you could actually act. I don't think I've ever been so proud of myself.
Feasible doesn't have a Z in it. Jesus Christ, Brett! I think of you every time I use the word feasible. So deep was your disappointment that I spelled it wrong.
Patrick looks at him and asks, "Why can't you be more of a leading man? You lose a few pounds and you can be an attractive leading man." He looks at me and says, "You're just fat." "But Dave, you could be a leading man." That's what I love about you, Patrick. You are always honest.
That was insulting.
It was truthful.
I cried in your basic acting class, but who didn't? Although I must have cried an awful lot because when the next class started, you told me I didn't have to go resume my personal photo talk. But there are two other moments, quite small, that I retain. When I returned to Bloomington Normal after a year off in the UK, I saw you at Coffee Cup before the semester began. I told you that in England I'd been a barmaid and worked at the Gap. You looked rather irritated and said, "Why haven't you been acting?" Suddenly I thought, why wasn't I acting? If Patrick says I should have been, then I must not be terrible. Another time you told the self-directed cast of Picasso at the Lupina Shield that our method was the future of theater. Once again, if Patrick said it, or more likely if I inferred what Patrick meant, it must be true. So I thank you for making my young self a bit more brave, while still quite vulnerable, open to both love and its good pal, heartache.
I want passion! Where is the passion in this?
Do something! Do something!
After the third character came on stage, I heard Patrick say under his breath, "Okay, we get the fucking point."
I believe Shakespeare just rolled over in his grave.
This is a fucking opera, people! And cue chair throw.
Do you know who you are?
Most people had a Patrick impression that usually didn't sound like Patrick. The first time I met Patrick O'Gara was in the lobby of Centennial West. Now, there were a few upperclassmen standing around him, and I was crouching up against the wall. He made a funny reference, and everyone laughed. I didn't get it, but I laughed anyway. Patrick looked down at me with still a smile on his face, and he said, "What the fuck are you laughing at?" Like most other theater students, I had heard the legendary stories about Patrick before I arrived at ISU. How chairs were thrown, classes were ended early because of a student's lack of commitment, and the use of the word fucking as a verb, an adverb, an adjective, and a noun. It didn't take me very long to realize that Patrick was more than just the stories, more than the impressions. Patrick was more than a teacher. He was a guy that helped young artists build their own artistic foundations, and he did it with passion. For every crazy Patrick story that was told, there were 20 more about his kindness and caring that he had for his students. I didn't realize until after I graduated the full scope that Patrick invested in his work. I can remember talking with him after a show in New York and seeing how much love he had for the undergraduate and graduate students he had watched grow in their time at ISU. It was as if he was the parent to hundreds of children, but only spending a short time with them before they went out into the big world. I saw how much that affected him, and I thought how hard that must be, to continue to care passionately for each new class, knowing that soon they would be leaving.
I was terrified of you.
I was intimidated for sure.
I walked in with confidence, which quickly wavered.
I was so frightened of you, but when I look back at it all, I often wonder why. You were always wonderful to me.
You made us all feel so special and so loved.
What I appreciated about you most was your ability to see past my bullshit well before I was able to do so myself.
I engaged in a lot of self-defeating behavior, occasionally balanced by fits of arrogance. Fortunately, I had you as my teacher for improvisation, and you cut through bullshit like that.
There's no denying that you are something special. In my general memories of ISU, we flocked to you like moths to a flame. I remember desperately needing your approval, but also being terrified of what you might think. I remember crying around you a lot, but crying was kind of my shtick freshman year. Like most of us, I had done some high school theater prior to having basic acting. I knew that there was this place I was supposed to go in a scene, and I had a lot of tricks I thought I needed to get there. All that technique, those tricks, were utter bullshit. The greatest lesson I learned from you was that our own existence gives us every tool we could ever need to play a role, as long as we are able to face the truth about ourselves. All the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful. It took me several years to be adept at embracing my own truth with any kind of bravery, but being unafraid of it has taken me many amazing places in my life. It has given me theatrical experiences that have been damned exhilarating. I haven't been on stage since 2009, but I can tell you this. I would not be where I am in my career if I had not learned from you to stop putting on a pretty show and start showing up for real.
Never have I met someone more with such a keen ability to discern what makes people tick. I think that is why so many have intimated such strong senses of fear when they came under your watchful gaze. I know for me, you never let me get away with any of my bullshit. You taught me passion and respect for the craft, and for that, I will never forget you. Were you blunt? Yes. Did you make people cry? A few. Were all of us exceedingly delighted when you complimented our work? Fucking absolutely.
You always made me feel like I could be me, that I could succeed.
Patrick O'Gara made me better.
There are few people in our lives that we can point to and say, I am who I am because of him or her. You are that person, Patrick.
You taught me what it means to be a theater artist. Sounds pretentious, I know, but I don't know how else to say it. You taught me that what it was we were doing was bigger than ourselves. I remember one night in rehearsal for Bomb at Gilead, you were running us through the opening scene without blocking, just the text. I seem to remember you conducting it like an orchestra director. Well, I'm not sure that is right. And for the first time, it happened. I still don't know exactly what it was, but the scene clicked. The overlaps happened the way they were supposed to. The timing, the volume, the intentions, everything just worked. And when it was over, you stood in silence for a moment and then yelled, "Did you feel that? Did you fucking feel that?" We did. we had. Each of us finally played our part with a passion and precision you had been trying desperately to instill in us. And something shifted, opened, became important. You pushed, you challenged, you finessed, you listened and responded, you pulled no punches. Not because you were an asshole or on some kind of power trip, but because you believed that what we were doing was important. The words, the plays, the worlds created, the relationships explored, they were necessary. They needed to be seen and heard. Working with you in class and in rehearsal, I started to understand that this wasn't about me. This was about being brave enough to be a part of something bigger than me. I teach university students now. I think about you all the time. I can't be you, I know that, but I sometimes try to channel you. I can't pull off the chair throwing or even storming out of the room. But when I know a student is slacking, is hiding, is not pulling their weight, and I'm tired and frustrated, and I just want to let them get away with it because who cares? It's just an effing intro to acting class. I stop. I think of just how annoying and terrified and a pain in the ass I was at 19, and how you never gave up on me. I gird up my loins and dive in and call them out and push them and challenge them and try to make them understand. This is important. Thank you, Patrick, for your patience, for your passion, and for teaching me what it means to teach and what it means to be an artist. and for helping me understand that the two can and always should be connected.
You are the reason I try my best every day.
I appreciate your ability to cut through to the heart of the matter, whatever it might be.
I threw a shoe at you once in class. I was holding back. You pushed me. I needed it.
You once quite gallantly defended my honor to a boy who had broken my heart.
You know, as a parent, I can only hope that my 3 children are as lucky enough to have a teacher and a friend of your quality. For if they do, they will truly be blessed, as everyone who has been your student and friend are blessed.
You made me me.
You helped me become me.
My, oh my, where do I begin? I shall with saying thank you for challenging my understanding of what being an actor is, for remaining steadfast in demanding my commitment to all it requires, for commendation not given, but worked for, and for ultimately believing in my talent and in me. As my 2 children have just recently completed their run in Les Mis at York High School, my daughter as Ensemble, my son as Gavroche, I referred often enough to my role as Roxana in Cyrano as a young freshman. As we readily know, when it comes to casting in college or the real world, anything can happen. I was beyond fortunate enough to have been the recipient of a something happening, the role, in fact, of my 4 years at ISU. It was beautiful and frightening, rewarding, frustrating, a hell joyride for most, but one we will never forget. You demanded that we know at all moments the who, the what of our characters, and more importantly, to continue exploring throughout the performance run. Listen, don't act. Never polished, always pushing ourselves, our characters, our understanding of the playwright's intention in writing the play in the first place. And somehow, some way, through your guidance and knowledge, we as graduates could readily discern crap acting from reality, from quality, regardless of reviews and hype. Cream always rises, and honesty in our craft will always leave our beings in a place of fulfillment, knowing that we left it all out on the stage. The day we punch in and out of the theater is the day we should seriously consider accounting as an alternative.
You pushed me as an artist to make interesting choices.
You pushed us to work harder and go further into the character and the world of the play.
You literally pushed me. I was in Balm and Gilead and underperformed. There was no danger in my performance. Patrick wanted the danger of a lion walking into the room, and I was probably emanating the danger of a duck. Patrick exploded, yelled something scary, and pushed me. I think he helped me graduate to at least the danger of a hungry dog. He knew how to break me down, just the right amount, and get me out of my head. He pulled the best out of me and taught me the joy of helping others find the same. Just think what this world could be if we all had a Patrick to help us unleash our untapped potential.
I wish I had the detail of a memory, the accompanying words, to accurately communicate your impact upon my life. Unfortunately, I don't. All I have is the certainty that for an all too brief moment in time, in a place I miss dearly, that you made me believe in myself. And I feel that feeling I'm constantly chasing.
Katie Brazda and I met with you after you saw us pantomiming making eggs and weeping as Myrtle Webb and Julia Gibb in our town at the Barrow Street Theater in New York. One of my fondest memories of the evening was re-experiencing in person the genuine pride you take in your students, the honest pleasure on your face when we introduced you as the teacher who taught us everything we know. You and Jean would tell us to throw our televisions out the window, to go travel, wear capes, question everything. And with a bright red face and wild gesticulation, You would implore us to jump into the ring and throw some right hooks. You never settled for less than great, and you never settled for second-rate intellectualism. So I listened.
You were always poetry in motion.
You were always a champion of art.
You will always be a theater superhero.
Even if we didn't have what it took to go out and grind it out in the industry day after day, you wanted us to know that we were capable, what we were capable of, and you always pointed it out. With the gruffness of an old soldier that has seen the world that we are hoping to enter.
Yes, you taught me a lot. And yes, you were a definitive and memorable part of my educational experience. But damn it, you were so much more than that. Experiencing you outside the classroom, being in social setting, or the audience for a show, or your brutal and hilarious coffee bar banter, was a masterclass in humanity. You cared to a fault. Even when you were saying fuck it to something, it came from a place of caring. So passionately. About the work, about the art, about the people, about the lives that you were in the middle of, and you drank it up and savored it. Every time I've had the pleasure of seeing you since you've taken my hand, asked me of my life, and with the gleam still brightly in your eye, you show me that you still are a force of nature and that you still care. So much. I wish I had listened to you more. I wish I had spent more time with you. I wish I was actually there at Denny's the night of the I want the moons over my hammy and I want you to shove it up your ass.
Yes, you did.
That instant has become a legend. I wish there were more like you today so that the young artists could leave school with experiences like mine. And I did have an experience. I was in Balm and Gilead, in Allen Theater. You cast me as the manager, and I wish I could have actually seen that show. But it was one of those nights you had us improvising for hours, in character, on the set, just inhabiting that world. It was amazing. And then I was killed. Sad, actually. It happened so fast. I was on the floor, and I felt the wound. I felt the blood and the life leaving me. It was surreal, and incredible, and terrifying. And it changed my fundamental understanding of the power of theater.
I will never forget just how much you are a part of me.
You were always honest with me, always. You were always available. I got feedback from you on other classes and auditions you weren't even at.
You helped me through some of the roughest times of my life. I remember being no more than a puddle in your office, and you listening patiently and offering great advice, which once again, I may or may not have listened to.
I had the pleasure of climbing the stairs in Centennial to your office to speak with you so often.
Walking up the stairs to your office to have a chat, I knew you'd give me good advice, sensitive, kind. You helped shape me as an artist, gave me my sense of professionalism and hard work.
And without you looking after me and taking the time to speak to me outside of your class in your office and talk about life, answer my questions, concerns, I would not be a professional actor.
I had you for the first time for improv class, fall of 1987. We were using Balm and Gilead. And at the same time, I was cast in Brighton Beach Memoirs. I spent a lot of time thinking I wasn't keeping up. I wasn't good enough. I was very insecure and emotionally not well. During class, you would pull one of us forward and ask us questions about our characters, and this terrified me. My character was an alcoholic and tried to hide it. You asked me if I personally had any secrets I hadn't told anyone. I was dying inside. In your class, in the safe space you created, you helped me let my secret out. I confessed that I had an eating disorder and I was going to have to eat on stage in Brighton Beach, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it. You asked me if I had some place to go for help, and you suggested I try the counseling center on campus. I left your class that day and walked straight there and told the receptionist what I had told you and the class. You helped me find the strength to find help. From time to time that semester, you would check in on me and ask how I was doing. I managed to eat on stage, and with the help of the counseling center at ISU, I got through that very difficult time in my life. You helped me find the strength in myself to overcome that scary time.
One night, I had what I now know was a debilitating panic attack. After an awful, sleepless night, I went to Patrick's office because I couldn't think of where else to go. He was with another student, but he took one look at me and asked that student if they could reschedule. We sat down and he asked me what was wrong. I remember saying, "I'm afraid I'm losing my mind." I will never forget his kindness in that moment. He leaned forward and said reassuringly, "You're okay. It's anxiety." More than 20 years later, you can hear his calming voice and see the serenity of his expression and the kindness in his eyes. The depth and sincerity of his concern and caring still moves me. Thank you so much, Patrick, for your wisdom, support, and genuine love during a time when I desperately needed all three. I'm forever grateful.
What I remember most about my time with you was your encouragement for me to climb outside of myself, to stop hiding, and to simply be me. If other people didn't like me, that was on them. You taught me how to like who I was as a person. Yes, you taught me wonderful acting techniques, but more than that, you helped a shy girl learn how to love herself. After I graduated ISU, I acted for 10 years around the country. I am now a clinical therapist with an MSW in social work. I help people find themselves and learn to like themselves much as you helped me. I don't know if you know how profoundly you touched so many young lives.
In 1997, I was still closeted at ISU. In fact, I didn't come out until graduate school 2 years later in Georgia, of all places. Well, I was able to do this because you helped build and strengthen me. In our improv class that year, we were doing Balm and Gilead, and you had us read the play and discuss it various days in class. Then you asked us to submit to you the part or parts that you wanted to play for the semester. Once you read our submissions, you talked to each of us on our own and asked why we chose the roles we did. Why do you want to play Franny? Deep inside, I wanted to confide in you and tell you that I was gay, but I was afraid. I'm not exactly sure what my answer was to you, but I do remember that I cried. And I knew that you knew. You could tell. The look you gave me was so kind and gentle, warm, knowing, and loving. You blessed me with that role, and for a semester, I was free. Now, I'm not saying that I became a transvestite prostitute, but I will tell you that I'm a happily married gay actor.
You were very kind and gentle towards me when I had a crush on you.
You made me feel normal, and you made me feel safe and loved and understood.
You were the man who taught me to accept myself for who I am. You taught me to look at myself and be honest. I will never forget the night you saw me in the hall after a class and invited me to the final dress before theater night for Angels in America Part 1. I sat there in the theater, in silence, for over 3 hours, not sure what I was watching, but knowing that it was going to change me forever. I I left that rehearsal and stepped outside for a smoke, a terrible habit I have long since given up, in case you were wondering. And I turned around and saw you. And without a single beat, started to weep. You held me for what felt like an hour, telling me you understood. I said, thank you. And the night was over. That one moment sits on my mind, and I still use it to this day when I am doubtful or not willing to allow myself to be vulnerable. Your one kind gesture taught me that it is okay to be who I am and to allow myself to let go when I need to let go and to express myself when I need to express myself. We never spoke of the show again, but I feel like in that moment, you made me a better person.
Trying to articulate your importance to me is a truly futile effort. When I arrived in ISU, fall of '96, I was an aspiring director who thought he knew a lot. Little did I know that you would help me learn, discover, and grow more than I ever thought possible. As a director, you taught me how to talk to actors. Your ability to use every possible tactic to get actors to bring out their best work was legendary. Moreover, the way you could get a company of performers to trust you, take risks for you, and to work desperately to please you was beyond my comprehension. You are the dictionary definition of an actor's director. And each show you directed at ISU was truly breathtaking. As a teacher, you could succinctly and effortlessly express yourself in each and every situation. You always knew the exact right thing to say. Now, if some viewed your bluntness as too much, I found it to be refreshing. It was never personal. It was always about the work. You pushed your students to be better than they thought they could be in class, in performance, and in life. You taught us to never settle for anything. You challenged us to answer difficult questions. You made us stay true to the work and never take shortcuts. You made us artists. As an actor, you were joyful, empathetic, and compelling. Working with you in the night of the Burning Pestle was like getting to direct my idol. You made the whole show work because of your larger-than-life spirit and your incomparable heart. You are and always will be my favorite performer in any show I ever directed. Finally, as a human being. This is where words escape me. Patrick, you made my life so full, so happy, so much better than it had been prior to coming to ISU. Your humor, your generosity, your kindness, oh my gosh, your intelligence, your wit, and your wisdom were more than I ever thought possible in one human being. You'll always be my favorite buddy, my favorite partner in crime, my favorite teacher. I love you.
I remember Jean Scharfenberg telling me, muttering out of the corner of her mouth, like she always did, telling me, love, teaching is acting. Of course, she wasn't talking about pretending. Nobody gets found out faster than a teacher who fakes it. But that fabulous teachers throw themselves into teaching as an actor does into a great role. They approach teaching, you, Patrick, approach teaching with commitment, passion, acute analysis, anger, love, energy, discipline, despair, a sense of the ridiculous. In short, with everything in your heart, soul, and body. Memories. You, the director, prowling around in front of the stage, body bent forward as if you could draw the actor's performance out on an invisible string. It's classic era. You storming out of class shouting, "I've got nothing! Nothing!" Oh my God, is he coming back? Are we supposed to stay here or what? You calmly watching me kick furniture around when I got frustrated with the shepherd scene. And thanks for not saying out loud that I was much better at doing shepherd when I wasn't doing shepherd. You sitting in one of my MFA committee meetings wishing you weren't, and don't even try to deny it. You and I sitting in a bar in Carbondale, flash forward. You and I sitting in a bar in Green Bay. The two acting faculty adults sent to ACTF. Adults.
That wasn't me.
You in a faculty meeting, spinning around and around in your chair, paying no attention whatsoever. See above comment about adults. But this is my favorite memory. You sitting 5 feet in front of me at a dress rehearsal for Henry V, laughing your ass off. Yes, you actually fell over. You were laughing so hard, laughing at me wearing knitted chainmail and gnawing on a 3-day-old crust of bread, trying and failing spectacularly to be one of Henry's happy few yeomen on St. Crispin's Day. Oh my God, does this broadsword come in a different size? And maybe something in a peachy pink. We have so many teachers in our lives, and we respect many of them. But if we're lucky, we sometimes get a teacher that shoots right past respect to become beloved. Beloved. And that's you. Beloved. Be loved. Because you are so much.
And your lessons, they live on in my students today.
I think, I hope, the greatest compliment I can pay to you is for you to know that I model my teaching and directing after you. I remember your passion through my own, and your artistry and instinct are a part of me, even as I continue to grow as an actor and an artist. Teaching is indeed a noble undertaking, and teaching young actors to connect to the world around them, to be an integral part of making society better, is a privilege. I am so very glad to have had you as an influence in my life.
You helped me realize the joy of being an educator. I will never forget just how much you are a part of me.
I remember our first monologue performance. There was a girl who just froze in the middle. In the middle of her performance, she broke out in hives, and her face got so red, and you just quietly walked up to her, you told her to breathe, and you turned to us and you told us how we will all do this sometime. It's our body's reaction to pain, fear, being a human being. After teaching high school kids for over 22 years now, I have said these same things to my own students. Bless you for being a role model and an exceptional acting teacher. That one moment changed how I have interacted with my students all these years. It's like a butterfly effect of how human emotion can be.
I've been teaching college for more than 20 years. And there are times when something happens in class and I ask myself what you might have done. Your ability to inspire and to motivate and to get the most out of your students has never left me. Now, my favorite story I often tell is when I had to perform a short play called Purgatory by Yeats. It was from one of my graduate projects. We performed it, and you told me it was so bad. It was so... And enough with Bob. It was so bad that I had to work on it for another week and do it again. I was horrified that I disappointed you, and I worked on it nonstop for a week. And after the second performance, you came up to me with a big smile on your face and said, "Jay, this was so much better. Still not good, but so much better." It taught me just to keep on working. I know we haven't seen each other in many years, but know that you are with me in the classroom and on the stage. Your legacy continues and will always flourish.
As the stage manager of the fucking opera that was Cyrano, I was lucky enough to see all of the aspects of your work, including running across the street for 50-cent refills of soda in those ridiculously huge cups. As a director and teacher myself now, I strive to bring the passion, intensity, and love to every project that you brought to that one. The journey from a gilded age to the heart of a single man. I remember that you were willing to scrap great ideas that wouldn't work at that time in that space. I remember yelling at you because you were yelling at my crew, and me saying that you could yell at your actors, but only I got to yell at the crew. You actually agreed with me on that one. I directed Bomb and Gilead last spring, and thought about you and your improv class frequently. The production certainly benefited from that long ago class.
Each week, I have the honor to stand on a very different stage, under softer lights, and before a more gentle and much less critical crowd. As could be expected, there's a peace that comes over me while I serve, one beyond what many could ask for or even imagine. There is, however, another kind of peace that surrounds me, one that lies stage left of the altar and the cross, a peace that's directly connected with my memories of you. In 3 of my most formative years, you played an important part in teaching me a critically valuable lesson about life. A lesson as simple as it is deeply profound. Patrick, you actually taught me how not to act. In classroom exercises and stage roles, you pressed into me the critical importance of not pawing at a role, but being truly authentic in my portrayal. You stressed that the roles I would be called to play would need to become my reality, empowering me to be one who performs for an audience of one. Like the one I serve now, your voice was sometimes gentle and other times stern. Always just what I needed and just in time. Your spirit was full of both the authority and the love of a true teacher who desired nothing more than to see each of his students reach the highest of heights. Your mission to teach helped form and shape my mission to serve my God, his church, and the congregations of Greater Los Angeles. A gift of infinite value to so many. As evidenced by the many beautiful sentiments of all your students, I pray that you know what a blessing your work continues to be to so many, most of whom I suspect you'll not meet this side of eternity.
In stage managing for Heartbreak House, directed by Sandy Zielinski in 1996, I remember your daily preparedness and professionalism as you engaged with student actors in the text. When I was not taking notes for Sandy, I was taking notes on some of the things that you were saying and the questions that you were asking, so that I could use those words as a model for my students for when I became a teacher. While those notes are now long gone, the impact they had on me remain as I do my best to impart that wisdom onto my students. In class, you expected only the best from your students, pulling performances out of them I did not know were possible. I remember classmates excited with the opportunity to be able to work with you in class, embracing the passion that you bring to every rehearsal. So thank you, Patrick, for nurturing within me a passion for the theater that I'm lucky to now call a lucrative career. My students, though they do not know you, thank you as well. The storm of passion you birthed in me lives on through them. Thank you for everything you have done for the theater before I met you, during our time together, and for all you will still contribute to this world.
Over the course of my life, I've always found some sort of connection in our time at ISU. As a young actor in the world, I found myself driven by that little Patrick voice in my head. That voice that often switched from highly encouraging and nurturing to explosive outrage when I was not performing at my fullest potential. Thank you for always knowing exactly which one to use in every situation. I'd also be lying if I didn't admit that I've often used your real voice as inspiration for several characters and voiceover auditions. 6 years ago, I found myself bored and disillusioned with the life of an actor, and I was desperately trying to find a new life path. My thoughts kept returning to the wonderful guidance I received from the teachers at ISU, Randy, Jean, Connie, Scott, Cal, Pam, Kim, I'm quite certain. There's missing some of them, and of course, you. I am proud to say that it was all of you who made me the teacher I am today. And I can only hope to inspire as many young minds in the upcoming years as you have. I still channel your guidance in my own classroom on a much smaller, more high school appropriate scale. At times I'm a father, other times I'm a tyrant, and other times I simply walk out of the room for a moment to maximum effort. Each and every one of these times I remember a scenario that applies to you, and I smile. Thank you for giving me this gift. Thank you for instilling me a love for the arts. Thank you for helping me to shape into this teacher that I am today, so I may pass on your guidance to my students. That I may pass on to their future students and their children. Your influence on young artists will never end.
Oh, Patrick, my Patrick.
By Walt Whitman and Matt Vesic.
Oh, Patrick, our fearful trip is done. The ship has weathered every rack. The prize we sought is won. The port is near, the bells we hear, the people all exulting, while follow eyes the steady keel, the vessel grim and daring.
But oh heart, 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 oh the bleeding drops of red, where on the deck our Patrick lies, fallen cold and dead.
Oh, Patrick, our Patrick, rise up and hear the bells. Rise up, for you the flag is flung, for you the bugle trills. For you bouquets and ribboned wreaths, for you the shores a-crowding. For you they call the swaying mast, their eager faces turning.
Here, Patrick, dear teacher, our arms beneath your head. It is some dream that on the deck you've fallen cold and dead.
Our Patrick does not answer. His lips are pale and still. Our teacher does not feel our arms. He has no pulse nor will. The ship is anchored, safe and sound. Its voyage closed and done. From fearful trip, the victor ship comes in with object one.
Exult, O shores, and ring, O bells.
Oh, Patrick, our
Oh
Patrick.
Patrick, our
Oh,
Patrick.
Patrick, our Patrick.
Oh, Patrick, our Patrick.
It was fall semester 1986. I'm pretty sure Patrick threw a chair at me. Or it was Lucia Struss. I don't know, maybe we were just in the room. Lots of chairs were thrown during basic acting. It made his point every time.
I'm remembering those wonderful days at ISU when you forgave me for being unprepared for an audition. When I was so fortunate as to be in your Greek styles class, and when you convinced Jean Scharfenberg to act in Bee Beaver animation. Okay, the story went something like this. Lee Brewer wanted Jean to act in the production, and she was hesitant because she remembered how she had screamed about faculty taking away acting opportunities from the students. You said that she would rather scream than act. She took the part. I've always loved how you can help people get to the truth of a matter.
I can't remember which class it was, either Pinter or Shepard, Albee, fairly late in the semester. A grad student, who I don't feel I have the permission to name, started the class with a monologue she had prepared. For the first part of the monologue, she was to smoke a cigarette, and when she put it out, she failed to do it thoroughly. So as she sat on the couch for the remainder of her heartfelt speech, a thin, but demonstrably visible trail of smoke rose behind her, of which she remained unaware. You watched her patiently, smiling and nodding. I fear I will paraphrase what happened next, but it was something along the lines of the following. She finished her monologue, perhaps wiping a tear from her eye as she awaited your judgment, smoke still billowing behind her. Alas, there was nothing for you to say besides, "Wonderful work, dear. Unfortunately, the couch is on fire."
I remember my muscles being sore from the frozen energy of the opening tableau in your production of Cyrano. Even though I was disappointed in casting that semester, you made my role as food seller in Cyrano important. In what many could have seen as a throwaway role in a scene that could easily have been cut, you elevated it. I remember you demanding as much from me as you did from the leads in that production. I also remember being amazed watching Caucasian Chalk Circle. I had never seen anything like it, and it expanded my ideas about what a theater production could be, and also the meaning of the word ensemble. I fondly remember a spring break trip to New York when we started talking and realized we both wanted to go to the Met, and ended up recruiting a nice little group for a subway adventure that day. Although I was initially intimidated by your demanding nature, at some point I realized how great it felt to make you laugh. During Cyrano, we were rehearsing late. It must have been dress rehearsal because a bunch of us were dressed as nuns, and we were figuring out some bit of blocking. It was very stressful. The set didn't seem like it was ever going to be built on time. There were posts sticking up out of the stage. So I threw my body on top of one and said, "Hey Patrick, none on a stick!" I felt the palpable tension of the rest of the cast in that moment, and then you let out with such a cathartic laugh, and we all felt better, and it was time to go home.
It was the first walkthrough of The Mad Woman of Shylock up in 301. My first entrance as Dr. Hadine was maybe 5 pages in. This being my first main stage, I was quite keen to do well and to be hilarious. My cue arrived. I threw nervousness aside and I strolled on in with my line. Before I could even get to the end of my first sentence, 2 things happened. 1, the entire cast was laughing, filling me flush with the naive feeling of comedy success. Their laughter hadn't even subsided before 2. You leapt out of your chair. I didn't even see you coming. Grabbed me by my lapels, got your eyes approximately 1 micron away from mine, and marched me backwards off stage to enter again, bellowing, "You will never do that again!" I may have gotten the laugh, but I had not gotten it the right way. I hadn't realized it, but I was making fun of my character, not trusting the material enough to just be my character and let the laughter come from that. I didn't know that yet. It would be a while before I would. I think of that moment often. It was discombobulating, jarring, but I needed to be jarred.
There are always some juicy stories about you at the gallery. And no, I don't mean the art gallery. And you were twice the recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Goldfarb Award, which was reserved for individuals who went above and beyond in some extraordinary way for students. I have 3 memories of the times I spent with you that really stay with me. Number 1, you and Caroline Gordon playing Grandpa and Grandma Joe in Grapes of Wrath when I was the musical director. The 2 of you were hilarious. Number 2, one time on a trip to the Stratford Festival, we were sitting at a diner, and I purposely made an assertion in comparing 2 different productions of A Midsummer Night's Dream that I knew you would violently agree with, or disagree with, just to see you explode and have that passionate argument. I thought that was fun. Number 3, evenings at the Illinois Shakespeare Festival when you had directed a play, sitting with you on those rickety little chairs on the balm during the production, talking about theater and life. Very special moments.
I will forever remember Patrick's ubiquitous observation. Do you know who you are? Steeped in Yoda-like ambiguity. This question usually takes a lifetime to figure out, and some never do. But it's an essential question for anyone artistic, and Patrick is willing to listen to how anyone answers it, or tries to answer it, or fumbles around with it, anytime, anywhere. The question always interests him. It's what draws him to others and to teaching and to the theater. Who the hell am I? What the fuck, Patrick?
I had the opportunity as a graduate student of directing Patrick in David Mamet's The Shawl, a mysterious play that also starred Michael Wallensack and Pamela Claro. Patrick was playing a psychic. Whether a con man or not was never clear. And Michael was his lover who wanted him to use his powers to fleece customers. As you might expect, rehearsals were filled with intensity, and I was way out of my depth. I remember one rehearsal where I had Patrick and Michael improvising a furious argument. Patrick was sitting on a stool, and Michael shoved him. I was mortified to see Patrick fall backwards to the hard floor of Centennial and hearing his head hit the tile. Thud! Not once, but twice. I held my breath. Patrick, still in character and without missing a beat, leapt to his feet and continued the battle. Afterwards, I asked if he was okay, and he seemed baffled as to why I asked. The show was supposed to be a free stage, but word started getting out about Patrick's performance, and soon it became clear the audience could not be accommodated in the classroom. So Al Goldfarb let us move it into Allen. The opening performance was packed, and I stood peering at the performance from backstage as all three actors took the show to the next level. I never knew what Patrick would do. Each performance was different, but he gave a perfect illustration of the kind of acting he was looking for.
During my tenure at ISU, I sat in Pub 2 with Patrick one night, just he and I, talking about the nature of theater, which is the nature of life. He said to me, and I'll never forget it, "I've never met anyone who loves theater as much as you. At my lowest moments in the last 20 years, and yes, it has been 20 years, Patrick's words have meant the world to me. They have literally kept me in the theater. I probably should be selling solar panels. But Patrick makes me know that there are only a few of us left. Fuck global warming. There is theater to be made."
One of my most memorable memories with Patrick happened in acting class. I was working on a scene from True West. He kept pushing my scene partner to be more physical with me, to get me more engaged. Finally, Patrick shouted at me, "Damn it, Paul, stop acting and get your fucking ass in the moment!" A profoundly simple moment, but it changed a lot for me. After that class, Patrick pulled me aside and told me I can do amazing things if I just let go of what I think and what I should do and just do it. We were in a break during rehearsal of Angels in America, and I remember Patrick telling me, "You should never do anything if you don't give a shit about it." We were talking about working in the theater, but that is something that I've carried with me throughout my career as I'm looking at projects or jobs. The amazing thing about Patrick is that he cares just as much about his students as he does about theater. A truly amazing thing.
There's a truth we seek in the theater. It can manifest itself in humor, pathos, terror, or in a myriad of ways, but it must emanate from inside of us. Teaching acting for many is an application of theory which may or may not reconcile the individual to the theory and therefore is useless. Patrick O'Gara is a man whose theory is to have you confront who you are so that you may have some sense of the instrument you possess and how your instrument is unique in all the world. Ferociously interrogating your fears, your blind spots, the areas where you cower, he shows us truths we never dreamed of, capacities we never believed we possessed. The man is the best acting teacher I've ever had, and I am deeply grateful.
Although I have not had any meaningful direct communication with Patrick in well over a decade, he still speaks to me on a regular basis. I am convinced that if I saw him tomorrow, he would instantly know everything about me through some kind of empathy osmosis. Patrick is many things to many people, and I can't begin to imagine a singular person in my life that has had a more profound influence on the lives of countless students who endeavored to live the life of an artist. I was fortunate enough to be cast in a production of Balm and Gilead. That remains my most cherished artistic experience. Patrick directed this beast of a play, and to say that he poured his soul into the project would be selling his contribution short. Patrick taught me things about artistic process that I simply can't put into words, but would add these skills have been transferable in every phase of my life thus far. In that sense, he is still teaching me today. Patrick is a friend, a mentor, and most of all, a teacher. He remains the standard that I aspire to obtain when faced with any teaching moment in my life today. our eternal gift is the shared experience that binds a community of redbirds across so many generations. We all have a favorite experience, a moment, a phrase, passed along from one class to the next. And in that sense, we are all instantly transported back to a moment in our lives when anything was possible. Everything was meaningful. Courage was rewarded. Only failure was in complacency. That bond we share is magic. In the immortal words of Patrick O'Gara, do something. Because if you don't, he will know.
Patrick O'Gara made me better. Patrick O'Gara made me viable as an artist.
I'm forever grateful for your passion for life and your insistence that we all experience it abundantly.
I learned by witnessing you live it, what a true artist looks like, what an artist does, how an artist lives, and the passion and intensity that an artist can and should feel. Hold nothing back.
You, Patrick O'Gara, challenged me, and you are one of the only teachers who got me to my core.
You were in love with your students in the best of ways, and I always felt cherished and protected with you around, Patrick. I can't imagine my life without your guidance and your passion.
Make art. Don't second guess your abilities. You have something to offer. What Patrick taught me is that acting is about creating theater, having the experience of that one moment living forever. I am beyond grateful for those moments that I had to learn from such a great teacher.
Thank you for being an example. It is evident that you have touched many lives, and you are truly one of the theater greats.
I am still your student.
I will always be your student.
I am also your friend.
I will always be your friend.
You are often on my mind.
And always in my heart.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Patrick.
you.